University of Rhode Island, and for my senior year project for my gender and women's studies major, I decided that I would call attention to empowering women of color's voices on predominantly white campuses. I have a friend named Kanisha Jenkins. She goes to Framingham State, and she was the co-founder of a movement called BGMT, which is Brilliance, Guidance, Millennium Togetherness. And I wanted to bring the spirit of BGMT about empowering those voices, because so often we walk through our campuses and we feel like we're the other ones, we're the outsiders. As women of color, we're battling two different marginalized identities of being a person of color and being a woman, and what that means for our experiences and how we present ourselves on our campuses. And oftentimes those are not that great of experiences. We don't see people that look like us. We don't see people that understand what those experiences and what those voices are. And oftentimes when we have those uncomfortable moments in our campus, no one really knows, or our white friends or our white administration, our white teachers, they don't know how to perceive that, how that may bother us.
When I see women of color like in leadership positions, I don't know, it makes me feel good, like just because then like I feel like I could like get to that place.
I feel very inspired.
Secure in my place as someone who is a racial minority.
It gives you motivation and dedication that you can be there and that you can succeed and that you can be a leader.
I think it's important for women of color to share their narratives with one another, because it kind of gives you guys, like, gives us a sense of community and like understanding that like we're all going through the same thing, and also like we can all talk about like the problems that we have, and with that like hopefully come up with like solutions for like how we can like go about fixing these problems.
We live in a predominantly white school, and it's like we don't ever have someone to relate to. So for us to talk to each other about these kind of issues, we feel more secure, we feel safe, we feel confident, we feel important.
Feeling that you aren't alone is very good, because you could see someone that walks by you and you could say, oh, I felt misjudged here, I felt stereotyped here, but if you feel like there's at least one person that's there with you, you don't feel alone. And I think that's the biggest problem. It's a big problem on this campus, I feel, because a lot of people feel like, oh, I did this and this is how I felt.
I get excited because it's like I'm not alone. I don't feel like I have to feel uncomfortable around them because we can relate, you know. I could see myself in the same position as them.
One experience I had when I felt othered on campus was during orientation. A lot of people was looking at me like I was exotic or ethnic because I had curly hair.
People come up to me and touch my hair without asking permission, or they like dig their hands into my hair and then like, oh, can I touch it? And I'm like, no, but like they're already doing it.
As a woman of color, you're strong. You're just as strong as anybody who isn't. And I think that having someone there and having a support system, having a sister, having a friend, it makes all of us feel stronger, because as a woman of color, you're strong as hell no matter what anyone tells you.
Any sort of survey that asks, it ends up asking you what kind of race, and I'm always literally the other, because it says black, white, Latina, or Asian, and it doesn't usually give an option for multiracial or biracial.
They had like a booth for like a skin screening to see like if you had sun damage to your skin. So we decided to just do it. And he was like staring at me under like the lamp for like, it felt like forever. And he was like, I've like never seen like this before. Like he's like, you have a very like even tone, like do you tan? And I was like, no, I've never been tanning. And he's like trying to like figure it out, I guess. And I was like, finally I was just like, I'm half black, half white. And he was like, oh, like that's really interesting. And I was like, okay, yeah. And then he was like, oh yeah, I have a niece like you. So it just made me feel like, I don't know, kind of like an outsider, I guess. I was the only person of color, and not even just woman of color. I was a person of color in that class.
I'd say I'm resilient,
Optimistic.
I would say courageous.
Important.
Latina.
I would say proud.
So it's so important that women of color share those stories, because those are the things that so often
we come into interactions with when we're coming to people. Those are the stories and the experiences that people look and they wonder about us. We need to connect with one another and see where those moments of triumphs are, where those moments of weaknesses, and feel okay and safe to share those with one another. Because in our moments of weaknesses, we find sisterhood, and in our moments of triumphs, we found a whole bunch of people that are there to welcome us, embrace us, and celebrate those triumphs with us. So it is extremely important that we share and we call attention to our white campuses and our white administration and tell them that we're here, we have a story, we matter, and that those need to be validated within our campus laws, our campus policies, our classrooms, what our teachers speak, and how they speak to us.